Welcome back to the 480 podcast. I'm Jacob Fredericks. In today's episode, we're going to discuss the Cardinals' 31-6 dominant win over the New York Jets, and we're going to look ahead into their upcoming schedule as they go into the bye week this week. All right, so going into this game, I expected the Cardinals defense to have probably their biggest test of the season so far, having to go up against Aaron Rodgers, Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, and Davante Adams, some of the best players that the NFL has ever seen, especially Rodgers and Adams, and some upcoming stars in Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson. And the Cardinals defense absolutely passed the test. They got an A++++ on that test. Great job from the Cardinals defense. And I think one of the biggest areas that the defense did a great job in is they kept the Jets in the middle of the field and inside of 10 yards on most of their plays. 15 of the 22 passes that Aaron Rodgers completed were within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage. That is what the Cardinals have to do because their secondary is still a young secondary that will struggle if a team tries to attack them deep. So to be able to hold them to 15 of 22 passes within 10 yards, especially most of those in the middle of the field, that is where they really won this game. They kept Garrett. Cardinals have probably some of the best tacklers in the NFL. Mack Wilson Sr., Kaiser White, Budda Baker. They all tackle really well, but their corners still struggle a little bit to keep up with some of these receivers. But they kept them within 10 yards and were able to go up and make tackles, and that's where the Cardinals really won this game. I mean, as I said, like Wilson and Adams got good separation. I think according to the stats I was seeing, they had about each of them had about 4.5 yards of separation per play. But guess what? Those 4.5 yard separation were east and west, and that's what the Cardinals want. If they're separated east and west, they can still have guys like Budda Baker, Taylor Demerson, Garrett Williams to come up and make tackles. And that's what they did this week, and that's why I think the Cardinals defense was really able to be successful. And another thing is that, while those guys were getting open, Rodgers had to get rid of the ball quick. And that's part of what allowed only some short routes, is that Rodgers had to get rid of the ball very quickly. The Cardinals got a lot of pressures on Aaron Rodgers. They hit him 5 times. This is a 41-year-old quarterback, and you hit him 5 times, got 3 sacks on him. Very, very good job from this Cardinals D-line, a front four that has struggled in past weeks. And they still didn't quite get to Rodgers enough on certain downs, but on 3rd down, on 4th down, they got to Aaron Rodgers, but they made him throw the ball quickly. And when a quarterback has to get rid of the ball quickly in this game, when he has the dynamic receivers that he has, the offense isn't going to be allowed to be as dynamic, to be as going down the field as they want to. Rodgers was not great going down the field. I think he only completed 1 pass outside of 10 yards. And most of the other ones were negative yards passes. He threw it behind the line of scrimmage, or he threw a little dump off, screen passes. So the Cardinals were very successful in limiting big plays against the Jets, and that's why they were able to hold them to 6 points, gave up 0 touchdowns. Again, that's the 2nd straight week giving up 0 touchdowns. So probably one of the Cardinals' best defensive performance, and they kept the Jets to 6 for 13 on 3rd down. Not as bad as the Bears' 3rd down performance this past week, which they only got 1 first down in 13. But 6 for 13, getting off the field over 50% of the time, is exactly what you need for a young defense. You cannot allow the Cardinals to get tired. When these Cardinals have gotten tired, you've seen it against Green Bay, against Detroit. When the Cardinals' defensive backs get tired, it is a long game for them, and the other teams are able to dominate time of possession and dominate the line of scrimmage. But in this game, you saw the opposite. The Cardinals got off the field, and they held onto the ball for a long time. And you saw that with the Jets. You can see the Jets, as the game went on, getting tired. They're losing the line of scrimmage, and the Cardinals were able to pounce on it consistently and get a dominant win. On the defensive side, I think Budda Baker stood out once again. Had 9 tackles, 1 sack, and 3 tackles for loss. I mean, what else can I say about it except pay the man? Please, Monty, pay Budda Baker. You cannot let him leave. As I said a couple weeks ago, it was not time to doom. The Cardinals are still a playoff level team, and with a 4-game win streak, the Cardinals have proved me right once again. Another guy that I think's really stood out, Garrett Williams and Max Melton. Really good job in the secondary. As we saw, Sean Murphy-Bunting return to the lineup, but it still wasn't great. I still think it should be Garrett Williams on one side, Max Melton on the other, and let them go at it. These two guys in a couple years are going to be elite cornerbacks in the NFL. And a guy who I was pleasantly surprised about, our new addition, Baron Browning. He didn't get any sacks, but there was a couple plays, especially on that 4th and goal in the third quarter inside Cardinals territory. He gets the pressure. He hits the spin move, forces Rodgers to get outside the pocket, and then the Cardinals were able to get him from behind, cause the strip sack, and turn them over on downs. So Baron Browning had probably one of his best games in the last couple years. He didn't play; it wasn't great for the Broncos, but he had an amazing game for the Cardinals this week. And let's just not forget, all of these guys on the defense, they're playing well individually, but they're all coached by one man. And that man is the youngest defensive coordinator in the NFL, Mr. Nick Rallis. He has stepped up since those first couple weeks in which that Cardinals defense struggled. He has figured out how to get the best out of these defensive guys. Obviously, you can still see the pass rush is still a little bit of an issue for the Cardinals, but this week, the guys stepped up when they needed to. And then, so let's just move along to the big parts of the game. And I think the biggest reason that the Cardinals were able to win the game, and I kind of alluded to it at the beginning talking about the Jets, is that the Cardinals had 17 plays of 10-plus yards. The Jets only had 6 plays of 10-plus yards. And that is where the Cardinals have struggled in a couple weeks ago, and when the offense wasn't getting going because they were getting 3 yards, 2 yards, and it wasn't good enough on how many yards we were getting for it. The Cardinals had 17 plays of 10-plus yards, and they held the Jets, who have some of the most explosive guys in the league, and they held them to only 6 plays of 10-plus yards. And I believe no plays of 20-plus yards. Really, really good job by this Cardinals defense keeping them there, and an even better job by the offense getting more dynamic plays, getting down the field more often. I think Trey Benson was a big help in that. He had a couple of runs of 10-plus. Probably his best game as a runner as an Arizona Cardinal. He was our best rusher by far this week. And his partner in the backfield, Mr. James Conner, was our best receiver this week. 5 catches, 80 yards, and he had that big one to open the game. And that really kicked things off. That started the momentum for the Cardinals. And that's what the Cardinals have to do going into the rest of the season, is start early. When the Cardinals start early and they score early, they set themselves up for, at the very least, a close game against good teams or a dominant win against some bad teams. They did it against the Bills. They started off quickly, and it was a very close game against one of the top teams in the AFC. Against the Rams, they started off quickly, dominate them 41-10. Against the Jets, start off quickly, dominate the New York Jets 31-6. It's a clear pattern. If you start off early in the football game, you can't win the game in the first 3 quarters. You can win it in the 4th quarter, but you can kick off the game, and you can try to start putting the game away in the 1st quarter. And that's what the Cardinals have done when they are most successful this season. Another guy that I think was great on the offense, Trey McBride. He's probably the most talented young tight end in the league right now. I don't care about Brock Bowers and all the hype around him, Kyle Pitts, all the hype around him this year. He's probably started to play better. But Trey McBride is the best young tight end in the NFL. I mean, what else do you need to see from this guy? He blocks. He's probably one of the Cardinals' best blocking tight ends. He was considered, in the last couple of years when Zach Ertz was the tight end, he was considered the Cardinals' blocking tight end. He wasn't even the receiving tight end. And guess what? He can block, and he's probably the most athletic tight end that I think the Cardinals or any of the league has seen since Travis Kelce. He is that good. We saw the hurdle. He had a lot of yards after contact. He had 4 catches, 71 yards. And I think probably about half of it was about 30 yards after contact, breaking tackles, hurdling guys. What an athletic tight end he is. He is the best young tight end in the NFL. Anyone, you guys can leave your thoughts in the comments if you want to argue with me about it. But I think that Trey McBride by far is the best young tight end. And the Cardinals, most successfully on offense, that usually a tight end guy like Trey McBride would get, but this year hasn't happened, is that the Cardinals were 4 for 5 in the red area, four touchdowns in the red. That is amazing for the Cardinals. That's exactly what you want. And that led, and I think the best play that the Cardinals had in the red zone all day was the fade route to Marvin Harrison Jr. Marvin Harrison had 5 catches, 54 yards, starting to get him involved again. See, the Cardinals do need to get him a little bit more consistently involved week after week, but if it's every other week for right now, he's a rookie and he's still playing some high-level football, and the Cardinals are 6-4, you will take that. And obviously that best play was that fade route from Kyler Murray to Marvin Harrison Jr. 2 plays after Kyler Murray took his only sack of the game. The Cardinals only gave up 1 sack in this game, and it was the play Kyler Murray got blitzed from behind. Quincy Williams hit him hard. His helmet flew off, and guess what Kyler Murray did? It's not the Kyler Murray of the past who might stay down for. This is the Kyler Murray that should be an MVP candidate, and gets up, laughs it off. 2 plays, completes the first down to Trey McBride, and then a play later throws a touchdown to Marvin Harrison Jr. that really put the game away for the Cardinals. Kyler Murray is playing some of his best football that he's ever played. Kyler Murray, as Mina Kimes said on ESPN earlier a couple weeks ago, he should be an MVP candidate. He has been playing some of the best football in the NFL, and he is absolutely having his best season as an Arizona Cardinal. This week, 22 for 24. He only missed 2 passes, and they were both down the field. Shots within 10 plus yards down the field. And other than that, perfection for Kyler Murray. Great, probably his most accurate game. He's throwing the ball with precision. He's not turning the ball over too much. He did fumble once, but they got it back. He's holding on to the football. They're not turning it over, and he's completing passes down the field. 266 yards passing, still one of his better statistical games. Although I don't look at the passing statistics always from Kyler Murray. If he's efficient and if we're running the ball well, he doesn't need to throw for 350 yards. He only has to throw for 250 or even 200. But this week, need him to pass a little bit, and he threw for 266 yards. His best game. He threw a touchdown to Marvin Harrison Jr., ran 2 touchdowns in. As I said, his best game as an Arizona Cardinal, or one of his best games as an Arizona Cardinal. And just overall, once again, another great team performance, great team effort consistently. You can see the Cardinals are bought in. They are ready to go. And I loved seeing a stadium packed out with red. I was a little bit shocked on how much red I actually saw in the stadium from the TV, because these are the games that, even this year, the Cardinals haven't been able to sell out with their own fans. The Jets travel well. A lot of New Yorkers in Arizona, and yet you can still hear the Cardinals fans all game. Love to see that. You can see Arizona's bought in. The players are bought in. They are ready to go. And by the way, Kyler Murray 3-0 in the new COD era. So all of you doubters who think that Kyler Murray is bad because of Call of Duty, quiet. Kyler Murray's coming for that MVP candidate, even though Lamar is currently the favorite. But I think Kyler Murray should be second place after Lamar Jackson. All right, so now going into the Cardinals bye week, we're going to look ahead to their schedule for the rest of the season and how many games they need to win in order to get into the playoffs or even win the division. So the Cardinals kick off right after the bye week. They head up to Seattle to play the Seattle Seahawks, and that is going to be the Cardinals' probably toughest game for the rest of the season. The 12th man is a real thing. Seattle is one of the most difficult places to play, and so the Cardinals are going to, that'll prove how good the Cardinals are and how well they are coached and what the mentality of this team is. If they can go into Seattle and get a win, the mentality of this team is they can go win the Super Bowl. And that is impressive, and that they are way ahead of schedule if that's the case going into that game. And then the Cardinals will head up to Minnesota in freezing cold weather likely. But good news is they have an indoor stadium now. In the freezing cold, it'll be against Minnesota. In Minnesota, I mean, Minnesota last week wasn't great. Only 12-7 win against the Jaguars. Not playing their best football right now, but they are still one of the best teams in the NFL. The NFC North is a very difficult division to play against, as the Cardinals are 1-2 against them this year. So hopefully they can make it 2-2 after beating Minnesota in Minnesota, but that is one more difficult games for the Cardinals. And then they get Seattle at home back, every other week, because they seem to be playing Seattle this year. And that's a game the Cardinals have to be able to get a win. Winning your home division games is important. Let's not forget, the Cardinals right now are unbeaten in the division. You have to win your home division games, so that is a big game for the Cardinals at home against Seattle. Seattle fans travel well, so that'll be probably a 50-50 stadium, maybe a 65-35 for the Cardinals. Hopefully, it'll be 100-0, but can never guarantee that in Arizona. And then they have another game at home to start the homestand against the New England Patriots. That is a game that the Cardinals should be winning, but is a difficult game. The Patriots are playing some good football right now. Their defense is playing well, and Drake May is looking really good for a rookie quarterback. A lot better than I thought. I thought he was going to be a bust, but Drake May is looking a lot better than I thought, so that'll be a difficult game. And then the Cardinals travel to Carolina, a team that they have not beaten in a long time. The Cardinals have struggled to play the Carolina Panthers in recent years. We know they've lost in the playoffs to them a couple of times, and even in the regular season when the Panthers, let's not forget when Cam Newton came back to Arizona, and the only game he won as the Panthers starting quarterback was, of course, against the Arizona Cardinals. So the Cardinals have struggled against the Panthers, but again, that is a game that the Cardinals should be winning. They are a much better team. Probably one of the few games where I can 100% say that the Cardinals are the more talented team. And then to finish off the season, they have 2 division games. So you're going to travel to SoFi Stadium to play the LA Rams, team that they dominated in week 2. But this week, or in the future, the Rams are playing better. You saw it last night as they played the Dolphins. The Rams struggled a little bit. They turned the ball over a few too many times, but are still playing good football as they've won a few division games now. So the Rams at LA are going to be a tough game, a game that the Cardinals, I think, really need to win to be able to get the division. And then the Cardinals have the home game against the San Francisco 49ers, which I think that if the schedule goes as I expect it to, with the Niners schedule and the Cardinals schedule, the game will get flexed out to Monday Night Football to decide the NFC West. That game could be the decider on winner takes the NFC West and goes to the playoffs, and loser maybe finds themselves as a 6 or 7 seed, or maybe finds themselves outside the playoffs. So the Cardinals versus Niners is the game to watch for the rest of the season in Week 18. And I'm hoping the Cardinals can get the Niners, but McCaffrey's back. Deebo Samuel's playing well. George Kittle's playing well. It's going to be a difficult task for the Cardinals to beat the Niners twice, but if they can, the Cardinals will win the NFC West. Thanks for listening to the 480 podcast. I'm Jacob Fredericks, and I'll catch you guys next week.